Today's episode of DRL is brought to you by Hella Cocktail Company. My guests don't just come to DRL for me. They also come for the cocktails. Luckily, my friends at Hella Cocktail Company have my back. These guys make amazing mixes, from Bloody Mary to Margarita to Moscow Mule. They also make cocktail bitters, my secret ingredient, and now yours too. It's easy to feel like the best bartender in town when every bottle comes with a simple recipe on it. Hella Cocktail Company, bold flavor, real ingredients, hospitality. Mixing it up since 2011. Shop the collection on Amazon Prime or use code DRL online at hellacocktail.co for free shipping. Hello, my lovely listeners. Welcome back to another episode of DRL, where we're talking everything dating, relationships, and love. I'm your host, Tennesha Wood. So today I have Bako with me. Bako lives in Japan, which I think is really awesome. So today we're going to talk about just some of her experiences traveling and dating, men of different cultures, races, etc. Hi, Bako.
Hi. Hi, everyone.
How you doing?
I'm good. It's like 11 p.m. Japanese time. So I'm in that wind down stage, but I'm cool.
I have this weird love and affinity for Japan, even though I've never been, because every time I see an article or read something about Japan, I'm like, see, that's how I would do it. That's exactly how I would do it. Like, it seems efficient. It seems organized.
I didn't know anything about Japanese culture, to be honest, before I came, besides like anime and the bullet train and kimonos, like the general stuff that everyone typically knows associates with Japan. So I did believe that it was like this technologically advanced, like super nation that has everything together. And then when you get here, it's like,
not so much.
Some things are very advanced. Some things they do very efficiently and very advanced. And other things is like so antiquated. It's like, I don't understand how are we still doing things this way in 2020. So the Japan is like, has a dual identity, I think, like technologically advanced, futuristic, I guess, and then very, very old school, antiquated. So those are the two faces of Japan.
What made you move to Japan?
Child, I was just trying to get out of America so quick. I just started applying for jobs in different Asian countries. And then whichever one seemed like the best bet is what I took. And I thought Japan would be the most Western, I guess.
Right.
Out of the three. So that's why I chose Japan.
And what do you do in Japan?
I was an ESL teacher in the classrooms. And then after a year, I finished my contract and I've been working as an online ESL teacher ever since.
As far as dating, do you date in Japan?
Actually, that is the reason I'm leaving. If I had to put the reasons in order, like 1, 2, 3, like number one would be, I need to get out of here to find a man. Like I need to, I gotta put myself in a better position. 2 years I've been here. I've been on dates with 4 Japanese guys. One guy I dated twice, and then he turned out to have a whole fiance, which is a thing here. Japanese people cheat a lot. So it's a thing to a point where it's like the norm, and people are like, oh, they're not married. It's not a big deal. The second guy was like too stereotypically Japanese, which might sound bad, but he was very shy. He couldn't speak English well. Like he didn't know how to talk to a woman. He had no swag or anything. So I gave him a hug and he almost I think he almost came in his pants. I was like, oh my God, I can't do this. Yeah, it was so awkward. He didn't know how to hug because they're not a huggy, touchy, feely society. So I went for the hug and he was just they can't see what I'm doing, but
I'm just picturing how awkward that would look. It's
so
like when
awkward.
You go for a high five, but someone's doing a handshake.
Yeah, that's what it was. And then he kept messaging me every day, telling me what he was doing. Oh, I just got home from the gym. Oh, I just cooked dinner. Oh, I just walked the dog. Oh, I don't care. I don't care. So
I'm not your wife. You don't have to check in with me. I don't know you that.
So I had to stop. That was one and done. So what I realized that there are fuckboys everywhere, in all the countries. I met a guy when I first came to Japan, maybe 2 or 3 months after I came to Japan. And we were talking, exchanging messages for months. And I was just are you going to ask me out? Are you like, because he was really attractive, and I'm typically not attracted to most Japanese guys for many reasons.
Well, that
But
would make dating in Japan very hard.
right. So because the Japanese men, and this is stereotypical, but I think it's true, most of them are very small. So like I'm taller than a lot of guys here, and I'm only 5'5". That's problematic. And I'm not one of those like I need a tall man. 5'8" is perfect for me. Like I'm 3 inches. If I put my heels on, we still at the same height. We good. So I can't be 5'5" and be taller than you. I also can't be bigger than you physically, where I can lift you up and cradle you. Like I can't be the one holding you in that. So that eliminates 75% of the Japanese men. Then a lot of them smoke,
Ugh.
which eliminates another large percentage. And then a lot of them don't speak English. So that I'm down to like 3% of the Japanese male population.
The ones you've met, how did you meet them online?
Yeah. I met one guy in person, the only guy that I've actually liked in Japan. And he's like a reggae DJ. I went to a reggae party. He was the DJ or MC or whatever you want to call it. And I just I worked my little mojo and approached him. I think it might have been the tequila shots.
What did you say?
I didn't say anything. I just extended my hand to him to dance, and he took it. And then we started dancing.
With these guys, do you feel like they're attracted to Black women, or do you think it's curiosity? Because clearly there's not a lot of Black women there. So
Right.
you probably stick out in every room that you walk
Everywhere.
into.
Yeah, and I'm black. So like I'm not finna fade. I'm not mixing into nothing. I haven't even dated enough or interacted enough with Japanese men. Like the guys that I have hooked up with or connected with here in Japan have been foreigners. So the one guy that I actually like, that I ended up hanging out with, the DJ, he is into like the culture. Like he's into Black culture. He's into the music. Like he's the language. Like he's been to Jamaica. Like he's into. He has that swag where he's like adopted some of our like Black cultural thing. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I think he just is into the culture. I think I'm the first Black girl he's dated, but I think that's because he just doesn't know how to approach Black women.
Mhm.
Like if I hadn't approached him, he wouldn't approach.
If you hadn't extended that hand.
Yeah, if I hadn't extended my hand, he wouldn't have said anything. So I think it could be both. Like I think there's some guys who are into women, and if you're attractive, you're attractive. But it's also that sense of like, oh, she's a foreigner and she's Black. Like this is exotic. So I don't know enough to say from my experience, but I think it would be both possibly.
So what ended up happening with the DJ?
So that night we ended up like going out of the patio and like talking and like exchanging information, but he lived in a different city. So he literally had just came for the party to DJ the party and then was going back the next day. So we ended up keeping in touch. I met him in December of last year. So we kept in touch, and then I went to his city with some friends in March, right before like the pandemic got really serious in Japan, before they shut things down. I was in his city, and he sort of like spent the weekend showing, taking me to the parties and like going to dinner with us. And he was funny as hell. Like I really enjoyed his company, surprisingly, because I honestly thought it was going to be like a smash and dash. Like I feel like this is going to sound terrible, but I always, in my mind, I was moving in April. So I was like, I haven't smashed a Japanese guy since I've been in Japan. Like I need to do it like it's a rite of passage. I need to like sort of just get it done. Get it done. Like, and I finally meet one who's cute. He doesn't smoke. He likes reggae music and he speaks some English. So like, let's get it. Let's make it happen. Ended up really crushing on him, which sucks for me because he lives in a different city. So we had 2 like really good nights. He dispelled some myths and stereotypes. Obviously, we know the stereotype of like Asian guys, right? Now, my thing is, how do you work with what you have, right? Because if I reach climax, it doesn't matter how big or small it is if you get me to...
If the mission is accomplished.
Right. So this guy, when the pants came down, I was like, Lord, why? Because I was like, he's nice, he's attractive, he's funny, I'm crushing on him, and this is what you're gonna do to me. This is what you're gonna do. But when they say people grow, I was pleasantly surprised by the Pinocchio effect.
So he's a grower, not a shower.
He was definitely a Pinocchio because it grew to a reasonable size. It wasn't large by any means, but it was reasonable, and it had some girth, and he knew what to do. Like he knew the positions. He knew the positions to maximize, the impact. So I was very pleasantly surprised, and we did it quite a few times in that weekend. In that weekend. So
Well, I'm glad you popped your
yeah, I'm
Japanese
glad.
cherry.
I'm really I can leave now.
And I'm glad that you had a good experience
Yeah.
from it, because it could have
It
went
could have
either
went either
way.
way. And I was like, and I liked him. So I was hoping it would be pleasurable.
So are you guys still in touch?
So we are. The plan was that hopefully he would come to my city, but with this pandemic and no one can travel in between city prefectures, we call them prefectures here, we haven't been able to do that. I'm sort of grounded in Japan. I was supposed to move, but I'm stuck because of the pandemic. So I'm not really sure when I'm leaving. So I feel like I'm kind of pressed because I want to see him again because I actually really have a crush on him. And I want to see him again at least once before I leave.
Do you think this could potentially be something serious? Or are you just keeping it at a place where it's like, yeah, we have a good time. I like him, but it is what it is.
I don't want to stay in Japan. So I am not trying to get invested in someone when I don't want to stay here long term.
So you've been to 45 countries. So what would you say are some of the best ones to date in?
I enjoy the fact that in Europe, the guys pursue you. Like that's something that was lacking for me anyway, in my experience in America. Like I felt like I had to pursue men and I'm not doing it. I'm 35, turning 36. I was in America since the age of 4. And my dating record was like, like I've had boyfriends I've dated, but like not consistently, long breaks, long period of time where you're not dating anybody. The fuckboy chronicles that I have are like, I can go talk for hours about the fuckboy shit I've experienced. So like dating in America was trash. I lived in the DMV and it's even worse. Like the amount of eligible, beautiful, educated Black women to compared to that of male counterparts it's really bad ratio. So I'm not doing it.
London is your favorite. So did you have any special connections or meet somebody?
I mean, I've been to London 4 times, and every time I go, I make a special connection. But I just don't do long distance. I'm not good with long distance. I wouldn't be faithful to the person if I was like trying to maintain a relationship long distance.
So what would you say your most memorable dating story is abroad?
I met a Scottish guy. So we met online and then we went to dinner and we were having a really good conversation. Really, he was younger than me. I think he was like 3 or 4 years younger than me, but really nice guy. Having a conversation and he was like, he has a cafe. He owns a cafe. So I was like, oh, cool. So he's like, you want to see my cafe? I'm like, sure, why not? So it's like 1 in the morning or 2 in the morning. So we go to his cafe. It's a nice little coffee shop or whatever. And he like makes me some tea and we're like sitting at the booth just talking, having a conversation. And then like, things escalated.
At the coffee shop?
At the coffee shop, child.
I'll take you to the coffee shop.
Listen, on the countertop. And the crazy part about it is in England and the UK, the sun rises at like 4 a.m. Like the sun comes up around 4 and it was like a Saturday night. So people were coming home from the club and the coffee shop doesn't have blinds. It just is like an open window pane. And then people are walking by, like stopping to like look at the situation. And we had to like run into the kitchen, which is probably not sanitary, but we ended up finishing in the kitchen.
See, now every next time I go to a cafe when the world opens, I'll be like, was somebody on this counter?
I hope he has Lysol. I hope he had Lysol. I hope he like wiped that down before he served crumpets the next day.
So how does an encounter like that end? I mean, once you leave there, obviously he knows you don't live there. Are you just like, well, have a good life, or I'll see you if I'm back here, or let's keep in touch, or how does it generally end?
So usually like we exchange some type of contact information, or like if it was social media, like a Facebook or Instagram, or I might have his WhatsApp. And then for me, I usually just be like, it's take care. Like it was nice to meet you, and I go about my business. I'm not reaching out to him. Like if I was to ever go back to Scotland in like a relatively quick turnaround, like a next 2 months later or within a year, then maybe I would have reached out to him. But like, I don't.
Do you get attached?
I don't know, man. My friends used to say I have an ice box where my heart used to be. Like,
Oh, Marion.
I know. Like, I feel like sex for me, it's not always an emotional connection. I've definitely had friends with benefits. I had a friends with benefits situation on and off for 8 years, and I got no emotional connect. I had no emotional connection.
After 8 years?
So this is the key to doing that type of situation. So we would see each other when I was off, like I didn't have anyone else I was dating like romantically, or he didn't, like vice versa. So if I'm dating someone romantically, I would like, look, I gotta see how this work out. I'll holler at you if it don't work out, and the same, and he would do the same. So it was like on and off for 8 years. But the key to that is I was not attracted to him intellectually. It was all physical. It was 100% physical in that situation. He was fine. His thing was not and like nice, and then the sex was great, and that was it. Like intellectually, he was a dutz. Like he just was not smart. And I would like to say I'm a sapiosexual. Like I fall for guys who can have intellectual conversations. One of those like they talk on the phone for 2-3 hours about everything. You fall asleep on the phone, like that type of guy. So I ended up ending it because he got attached and wanted to start dating. And I tried. I went on a date. And we sat across from each other. Like we would order food at his house and, eat, but never go to a restaurant and sit and then have to make conversation. And I was just like, I'm about to die. Like, I don't know what the fuck else to talk about. Like I don't care about what you're talking about. Like it was painful. So that's when I realized if you want to do this, I can't do this with you.
I met you through a travel group on Facebook, and you had posted in the group that there was this guy who you had posted a text exchange with, and I guess he ended up having a girlfriend.
Yeah.
What happened there?
Yeah, don't judge me. Don't judge me.
No judgment.
That's the DJ.
Wait, what?
That's the DJ.
So he had a girlfriend the whole time?
So he told me he had a girlfriend who lives in a different city. And I stopped talking to him what happened was I stopped talking to him. When I posted that, I was so upset. Like I was like, whatever. I'm not talking to this guy anymore. So I stopped talking to him. And then my friend.
Wait. At what point did he tell you about the girlfriend?
In December when we met. It was like literally the second or third conversation. I always ask just to be sure. And so he admitted to it. And we had kissed that night, the night we met. So I was just assuming, you kissing random girls, you don't have a girlfriend. So I was like, let me just ask. Because we were talking as if like we're going to visit each other. So let me make sure. So, and I'm going to say this, I am not a good person for this because I have lived my life trying to not be the girl to participate in any type of foolery. And I've never knowingly engaged with someone who had a girlfriend before. So I feel like shit. I'm going to preface it by saying I'm a scumbag for this. But my friends wanted to go to Osaka because it's like a fun party city. And they were like, well, he's a reggae DJ. He knows the spots. Can you at least like reach out to him? So I was doing good. Like I had stopped talking to him. I hadn't thought, I hadn't messaged him or we hadn't talked to each other since the conversation. And then like in January, my friends were like, well, we should go to Osaka. And I'm like, all right, cool. Can you ask him about the parties? So I'm thinking, okay, I can keep it platonic. I could just ask him about the parties and what's happening. And so he started messaging me and like giving me information and just sort of talking to me in general. And then he was like, I can take you to the party. So when I went in, my mind was like, I'm going in there like, he's going to take us to the party. I can keep it separate. But he ended up coming to dinner with us and it was so charming. I love a guy who's cheeky, who like can catch the jokes. And for him to be Japanese and catch the jokes we were making and like fire back jokes and was like, I like to go on people, like sort of joan on people. And he was joning back. Like it was like
a lot of good witty banter.
Yeah, it was like great banter. And my friends were there and my friends were dying laughing. And he was like keeping 3 girls entertained and he paid for everything. And he was just so nice. So, and I was like, yeah, so I fucked him. And yeah. And the girlfriend, I never even brought it up. Like I didn't bring it up. So I will say this. in Japan, I think I've said it before, they don't take girlfriend, boyfriend serious. Like, it's sort of like, yeah, you're not married.
We're nothing or we're married.
Yeah. And so me trying to like justify, I guess, I was talking to my Japanese friends and I was talking to my foreigner friends who've been in Japan, and everyone was like, what's the problem? Like, I was the only one who had like this big objection to the situation. And I succumbed to the peer pressure, I guess. Because everyone was like, that's no big deal. I'm like, well, damn, that's how y'all roll in Japan?
You were born in Cameroon, grew up in the U.S. I assume you have Cameroonian parents.
Yes.
I know, like, Africans can be very traditional. Like, how do they feel about the way you are, where you're just like, I'm just kind of traveling, chilling, doing me?
So my father, rest his soul, he passed away. So I think he knew me and he knew I was a free spirit. So I think he would have been fine. Like, he's like the type of guy who just wants you to be happy as long as you can pay your own bills. Like, don't ask him for no money. Don't ask him for no money. But you could do whatever you want as long as he ain't funding it. So I think he would have been okay with it. My mom is the more traditional parent. So here's a funny story. My mom thoughts or thinks I'm gay. And so she had asked my uncle, because I've never brought anyone home. I'm 35, turning 36. I've never brought a single guy home because I have no intentions of introducing anyone until I have a ring. So my mom always just assumed, since I've never brought anybody home, I don't talk about guys, that I'm gay. So she had my uncle. It was just the most awkward fucking experience. Like, we were driving to go pick up my mom from the airport, and he's like, so I want to talk to you, because he's trying to take on the father role since my father died. We just don't know, you're getting older. We want to make sure that you are going to be happy and you're going to be in a stable relationship. So I'm just concerned that we have not seen any man, and I want to know, do you like women? I was like, what? Say what now? I mean, it's okay. I just want to know, sir. We're not finna have this conversation. We're not going to have this. Your mother is worried. She's worried about what? So my mom is super Christian. So she's super Christian. So she maybe is like one of those, like, it's against the Bible type women. So I'm not gay. I told them I told him, I was like, no, I'm not gay. I like men. I just have not met the guy that I want to meet, that I'm going to be with at this point. It's like, oh, and then that's when he wants to start hook me up. I was like, oh, we have so many eligible bachelors, sir. What we're not going to do is try to set me up with some guys I've never met from home. Like, we're not doing that.
Do you date African guys?
Damn, I'm about to be crucified. So I would.
Okay.
I would do that. I would never say I am African. I'm proud to be African. I would absolutely date an African man. There are many beautiful, gorgeous looking African guys. So absolutely, I would date an African guy. I've dated one African guy. That's just sort of been my situation. I haven't dated many, but he would have to be like African, like me, like raised in a Western society, or been here long enough to have some sort of like understanding, because some African guys can be very traditional, and I'm not going to be cooking fufu and okra soup. Like, I'm just not going to be that woman. So if you need somebody who's going to be doing that and like bringing you the bowl to wash your hands, like, I'm not going to be able to do that for you. So like, if the guys who are just coming to America, who are still got that mindset of like, I'm the head of this house and what I say goes, it's not going to work. But if you've been here and you've been accustomed to like dating American women and sort of like just accustomed to the societal norms, then yeah, absolutely.
There are a lot of African guys in the DMV.
Yeah, where they ain't looking for me because I ain't getting none. Where they at? Like, I'm definitely open. For me, the criteria is attractive, have a job, got your finances together, and can have an intellectual conversation and a sense of humor. The only person I won't date is like a white American.
So you've never dated an American white man?
Nope. There's some attractive ones, but I'm not finna be in a relationship with a white American man.
Based on just the history and race relations?
Yep. And even if he's cool, his family might not be. And as we've seen, 53% or 55% of white people voting for Trump. So somewhere in your family or friendship line, somebody acting crazy. Mima, pop. Everybody get cussed out.
I absolutely can't stand the word Mima.
It's the dumbest name I've ever heard, but whatever. You're going to get cussed out too. Okay? So I'm not even going to go down that road. It is what it is. And I don't care how people feel about it.
So certainly, I mean, most Europeans are white. Or do you find that they are that different?
So I'm going to say this. I struggle, and this is something that I talk about with friends quite often, because I struggle with this whole interracial relationship. So I've always been sort of open to dating any minority race, like Latinos, Asian, because there's a level of like, we can commiserate at some level, you know what I'm saying? Like some similar experiences, but with like white men, and it's different. Europeans, from my experience, the ones that I've met are a lot more open to dialogue about race. I think like Europe had slavery, obviously. They started colonialism and all that stuff, but it ended much earlier than it did in America. And they didn't have how many other years of Jim Crow and all the other stuff that came with it. So their understanding of race and the relationship with people of color is a little different, and it's not as deep rooted. The hatred is not as deep rooted, because literally in America, blacks were cattle, right? So blacks were property. In Europe, it wasn't the same, the extreme.
Yeah, and the thing in America is that it seems to seep into every facet of people and society, and it can never really be let go. And it shouldn't, based on the history, ever be let go. Like we shouldn't forget that, and it can't.
I've been able to have more conversations about race with foreign whites than I have with American whites. I'm a social worker, so all my social work friends, obviously we're talking about race. Like all my white social work friends, those are the people that I know I can depend on to talk about racism and whatnot. But like the other friends, like only a select few. Like when I look at my Facebook feed, I don't see them posting about what's happening in America. You know what I'm saying? So I am still apprehensive to the idea of potentially being with a white guy forever. Like I feel like I'm a bit of a hypocrite, because I have dated and been on dates with white Europeans. I have slept with white Europeans, but I'm still like, I don't know. I would really have to try to have a deep conversation with the person to see how they feel. Because if we were to get married and have kids, these would be black kids. So how are you going to raise your child, and what work are you doing to make sure that this child is protected and recognizing your privilege? Like that's a conversation that we would need to have early on. I need to see how you feel about that before we can even try to talk about being boyfriend and girlfriend.
Right. Because as I'm starting to realize, it's more common than I thought, where people are in these interracial relationships, but they view the person that they're with as the exception. They view it as, oh, well, yeah, you're black, but you're not like, insert stereotypes. And so just because you are with somebody that is of a different race, it doesn't mean you've done the work to understand it, embrace it, and actually accept them and their culture and their history as a whole. And so it's like, that's a part of it. If you're going to embark on that sort of relationship, it's not just, well, here, I'm with this person. No, you need to be with this race and you need to understand it.
You would be surprised at how many people have kids and they're like they start saying all this racist stuff when who's going to comb this nappy hair, or like, you had a baby with a black person. Like what did you think their hair was going to come out like? Or if they get upset, they call you the N-word or say something really racist or derogatory. So I struggle with this. And like, I know the hard line for me, white American men, I can't do it. With the European men, I still struggle, because that could still happen with Europeans. And so I don't know, man. Like ideally I would just meet a black brother in Europe, because there's black people in Europe, and I would just live happily ever after.
Now, speaking of happily ever after, you don't strike me as somebody who would be happy with so here's my husband. We have 2.5 kids and a dog, and I go to work, I come home, we hang with the family. Like, I feel like your spirit needs a little bit more excitement than that, and the monotony might destroy you.
So I would have to have someone who's as adventurous as me, who's willing to do the spontaneous stuff that I do. Like, just let's go skydiving tomorrow. Like, let's go trek through the forest of Pitlochry, Scotland, and go bungee jumping off like a bridge. Like, that's the type of shit that I will do. And I need someone who's going to do that. And when it comes to white guys, white guys, a lot of them be down to do that shit. So that might not be so hard to find, but any guy I meet, any guy I date needs to be like non-traditional in that regard. And hopefully not looking for the traditional Stepford wife, because that's not me.
So when you say settle down, what does that mean for you?
I want a partner. Like, I want a life partner. I want someone I can share my life with. I want to have sex regularly. Like, this corona drought is like death. So like, I want to have consistent romance, and like, I'm tired of traveling with my friends. It's nice, but these scenic pictures that I see, like, I want to take a picture holding someone's hand, and like the picture that everyone takes. All you see is a hand, and like, I want to do that shit. Like, I want to take a picture on a body swing with a man pushing the swing. Like, I want to do that. I want to share my experiences with someone, and I want the companionship. Like, my life is great. Like, I enjoy living. I enjoy traveling. I enjoy meeting people. It's fun, but it can be lonely. It can be lonely. And especially during this corona, like, I literally live in my house by myself, and I'm not dating anybody. I'm not seeing anybody. So besides my friends who I might video chat with, I'm alone.
Do you think that you'll still be stimulated by just one person for the rest of your life?
I don't know. I honestly can't answer that question. I hope so. So I'm like a hopeless romantic in a sense. All my favorite movies are love stories. Ever After, The Cinderella Story with Drew Barrymore, Pretty Woman, and Pride and Prejudice, The Notebook. Like, those are my movies that I watch. Literally, I watch them like 3 or 4 times a year, all of them. So like, I have this idea of like this man sweeping me off my feet, and like, we have in this world with romance, and then we're gonna be happy, and maybe that doesn't mean we stay in one place. Maybe that means we move around and we do adventurous stuff. And, I've always wanted to have kids, but I think you can incorporate kids and still travel and do stuff. You just got to sort of plan it. All of this is my ideal of what my life would be. I don't really know what's going to happen. I do know that what's the song? I'm so sick of being lonely.
Every night I'm my man, 'cause I want to know. Okay.
I want to have a companion. I want to have a partner in crime.
So what is next for you, Bako?
I'm trying to get out of Japan. I'm trying to go to Europe. I honestly don't know if I'm going to make it there this year because of the situation. So I might end up staying in Japan. But yeah, my goal is to go to Europe, travel more, and hopefully meet my boo, potential boo.
Okay.
Meet someone who I can spend my life with or spend a good quality time, a good amount of time with.
Well, thank you for coming on today and sharing your hilarious stories and world travels. And I hope you're able to get out of Japan and meet that boo.
Yeah, thank you. I hope so too, girl.
Where can people follow up with you?
I'm on Instagram at the Bako Chronicles. My stories are pretty funny, so I've been told. So check it out. I've started since Corona doing a weekly live chat with a friend of mine, and we talk about a whole bunch of stuff in regards to dating and being Black and like all of that.
Awesome. And thank you guys so much for listening today. And please reach out to me at Tennesha Wood on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and let me know what you think of today's show. And until next time, wish me love. Hello again, my lovely listeners. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of DRL. If you like the show, be sure to go on iTunes and leave a rating and also write a review. And don't forget to share with your friends and tell them all about DRL. Thank you so much for supporting.